There is a name for that particular activity that you went through. And yes, it could serve as a form of assessment that you can do in the classroom. I just made you go through a modified version of the vocabulary knowledge scale. And it's among the things I'm supposed to be working with you on this afternoon, classroom-based assessment tools for vocabulary. And check it out in your program, vocabulary, oral language, listening, among other things, right? And even listening and reading comprehension. Now let's go back to all those, even attitude. And look at that. And book and print awareness. Let's try to backtrack a bit and try to analyze what you went through. Did you have to listen? Okay. Why did I have to change the instruction in the middle of the activity? Do you remember the point when I suddenly said that if your answer is not 5, that's when you shout it? Okay. Why did I do that? I didn't have to do that. Yes, partly. I would have to admit to my guilt where that is concerned. I wanted a quick check, a quick assessment on your listening, comprehension in the middle of what was going on. And at the same time, I tried to look at what your attitude was about the whole topic that is the subject of this session. But I didn't want any pen and paper because I wanted to be able to adjust as soon as I have an idea on where you are. I'm beginning to sound like a broken record, no? And in the reasons why I do certain things. But you can do it. You can do that as a pen and paper activity. It's a vocabulary knowledge scale. It could be just words. It could be phrases. It could be terms. If the kids are younger, then, in fact, in the example that we will give to you, the kids are younger, so it's just a matter of faces. If you know it, then this is a very happy face that you will draw. Okay? If you don't know it, it's like this that you will draw, etc., etc. That's a knowledge vocabulary scale. So now I have an idea which particular terms I would have to focus on. Do you know what that term is? Let's go back. Okay? That's classroom-based assessment tools, the subject for this afternoon session. But it's based on the term classroom-based assessment. Then there's summative assessment, there's formative assessment, there's assessment. Do you recall where there were different answers? Was it in the formative assessment or in the summative assessment? Was it in classroom-based? So I think we're agreed that assessment is an ongoing process of gathering information for purposes of improving instruction. This is not very consensual. At least it wasn't consensual earlier. And this term too, which are actually both done in the classroom. So both of them are classroom-based. And both of them are supposed to be done using different tools. So we would have to focus on formative and summative. So far, in the reading lesson that you have done. You had pre-reading, during reading, and post-reading activities. Which ones can you consider to have formative value? And if any, is there anything that you can say has a summative value in terms of assessment? Recall what you went through because you are finished with one reading lesson. Before, during, and after, Teacher Yvette asked you to do your discussion. Your discussion earlier, you had the workshop. Can you recall? Was there anything that happened? Or was there anything that you did in the lesson, in the different parts of that lesson? You did pre-reading, you did during reading earlier, you did post-reading discussion. Was there anything there which could serve either as formative or summative assessment for the students?
There was a formative assessment because as you go along the discussion or as you go along the sequencing, there is a questions being asked to the learners. So therefore, it's a formative.
Which part was that?
On the post reading, yeah.
So, Sir of Region 8 said that in the post-reading part of the lesson that you have so far planned for, it is the discussion that serves a formative purpose. Anything else? Any summative assessment that you've done so far? From yesterday, the pre and during yesterday and today's post. Wala po. Sir, yes sir.
In fact, summative, that is a mathematical term. It's a sum from the root word sum. So, there are activities then that you are already in summation. So, you are totaling everything done in an activity. And that is summative assessment.
So was there anything, sir, in what you prepared in the lesson plan that serves a summative assessment purpose based on your definition?
Yes, from the very beginning to the end, you will now have a summative assessment if your objectives have been achieved.
So, sir, in what region do we come from, sir? Region 2, in the lesson that you've prepared so far, Region 2, which part is the summative assessment?
Wala pa. Wala pa dahil hindi doon sa may I have my Sir Octave, kindly rescue.
Okay, Group 2.
In fact, we just ended until the formative test, ma'am. Wala pang summative test.
Wala. May test na po ba?
Assessment pa lang yun, ma'am.
Alin doon, ma'am?
Yung nasa post, ma'am. Yung sa post-assessment.
Okay. Doon daw po sa post. Levels 1 to 5. Literal, inferential, evaluative, integrative, and creative levels. Hoy, gising sila. O sige po, punta lang sa mic or taas ng kamay, pupuntahan ko po kayo. Sir.
From Region 6.
Region 6.
Take note that there are 3 kinds of assessment. The first one is the pre-summative test, or what rather a pre-test, followed by formative assessment, and we have the summative assessment. When we are talking of the pre-test, that is learning as assessment as learning, while the formative assessment is considered as assessment for learning, and then we have the summative assessment considered as assessment of learning. We usually give the pre-test before the beginning of the lesson, while the formative test is given while the class is going on, while the summative test is given after a unit or after a quarter.
Question, sir. In what you have done so far, which is the one you consider as a formative assessment task and which one is a summative assessment task, if any?
We usually, for a class, application is considered already as a formative test. Meaning to
No,
say...
sir, excuse me, sir, the one that you have done so far in the lesson plan. The pre, during, and post.
In the application of the topic now, it's considered as the formative test.
Again, sir, I'm sorry po.
It's usually given in the application where we determine what the student has learned from that lesson.
So, in what you have done so far, you've done pre-reading, during
So
reading,
it's
post-reading.
during the post-reading.
Post-reading is formative, summative?
Formative.
Formative.
It is not recorded.
It's not recorded. So, Region 9, thank you. We have, sir, from Region 8, raising his hand.
Based from the developmental skill that we are going to take up this afternoon, we're talking about classroom-based assessment. And looking back at the three processes of the reading activity, which consists of pre-reading, during reading, and post-reading activities, the summative assessment falls on the post-reading activity. Because this summarizes the learning process of the entire selection that has been read. Because I remember what has been emphasized by Teacher Yvette, after the post-assessment questions, post-reading questions, we went back to the questions whether the expressive objective was answered in the questions given during the post-reading questions. Although we understand that there is pre-assessment in the pre-reading, the schema, the connection between what is known by the experience of the readers and what is going to be read in the selection. While in the reading, during reading, there were questions given. Diba? Whether the readers can predict what will happen in the next stage, in the next event. So this is a part of an assessment which is formative assessment. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So we have a different point of view. What sir is saying is that within the context of that single lesson alone, he believes that the during reading part served a formative assessment purpose, while the post-reading part served a summative assessment. But if we go back to what was said earlier, if summative is recorded and graded, what will be the grade that will be recorded for each student? Okay. Sir, after Region 3 po, ha? Sorry, sir, nauna si ma'am.
All right, let me just express my interpretation with regard to that question. Actually, assessment can be a formative test. Okay, assessment can be qualitative or quantitative. And it can be done orally or in written form. Now, in the activities that we have done so far, okay, during reading activities, we have asked questions. We have asked questions already to the pupils to know the level of their comprehension regarding the story that they have listened to. Okay, in those questions, we already have given them some formative test. In the post-reading part, we have already formulated questions already for them to answer in different levels. That's why I agree to the point of Sir na in a way, nagbigay na tayo ng formative assessment. I agree to that. Because all the things that we are doing inside the classroom, we are developing, we are trying to achieve the end that we have in mind. So, in the process, kasi sabi natin, assessment is a process for the improvement of the pedagogical, okay. So, yun ang aking idea, ma'am. I think we have done formative assessment, but as to summative, medyo there is a gray area there. But, if we think about the levels of questioning, na pag nakarating ka na sa creative level, and that's the highest level of thinking, well, that's the sum total of it all. Okay.
Gray lang talaga, ma'am, ang pwedeng kulay. Di ba pwedeng yellow-green? Okay. Gray lang daw mo. Eh, kasi po, ang dull ng gray. Di ba? Ang dull ng gray. Ma'am, ma'am and sir, babalik po ako dyan. Si sir muna po.
Let me consider the statement coming from Region 8. Kung ang pinag-uusapan sa pagtatasa ay ang pagtatasa para sa klase, makikita mo ang kamalayan at kabuuan nito pag mayroong nangyayari at mayroong bagay-bagay na nanililinaw ka habang pinoproseso mo ang lahat. So, kung tatanungin ninyo sa amin, sa ginawa namin magmula sa pre, post, and during and post reading, mayroon ba, habang walang sinasabi ang facilitator na marka namin, walang summative na naganap. Lahat ay formative. Kasi yung summative, nagdidesisyon ang taong na nagbibigay ng pagtatasa sa kanyang binibigyan ng proseso. Kasi maliwanag naman yon, lalo na sa classroom. When we discussed this, remember, grades 1, 2, 3, I was able to contextualize a lot of things as regards assessment. In fact, kung naalala ninyo, yung TOT natin sa assessment, ang filosofiya niyan, tinimbang ka, ngunit kulang. Kaya kung naalala niyo, ang ginamit ko pa ay si Lolita Rodriguez at saka si Christopher De Leon nang pinakita natin yung pelikula. Kaya makikita mo yung proseso ng bagay na yon sa magdidesisyon at sa dinesisyonan. Kaya tama yung argumento na binibigay kanina noon. Kung tatanungin ko ngayon si Ma'am Ann, kumusta ho ba ang aming nagawa? Paano ba kami bibigyan ng isang marka? Doon nagkakaroon ng proseso ang summative na katanggap-tanggap ba sa amin o hindi. Kasi kung hindi, talagang ganun nangyayari ang lahat ng bagay na yon. So, tingin ko ganun yung pwede, oo.
Ang generation mo, Richard Don. Hindi siya nanonood ng Tagalog. Okay. Sino ka? Julia Roberts and sino pa ba? Okay. So, thank you kay Sir, ha? Region 4A.
Mapiyang fugak ni kamungamin. At least bumalik tayo sa kamalayan na ang pinag-uusapan ay meron na bang nagawang summative assessment. Tama si Sir Eric. tama rin po ang mga sinasabi ninyo dahil binibigyan nyo ng meaning ang mga nakikita natin dyan sa ating screen, PowerPoint screen. At wala pa talaga tayong nagawang summative assessment. Na yun ang tanong ni Teacher Portia. Yes or no lang po.
At kahit Portia lang po, sir, pwede na, di ba? Oo. Kasi parang mas matanda ka naman sa akin, sir. Kilala mo, sir, si Christopher De Leon? Ikaw, ma'am. Sige.
And with regards to the lesson that we made in terms of the during and the post reading, for us, it is more of the formative assessment. Because when we have to make our own questions, we always look into the objectives. So if the objectives for that day talks about, of course, at least after the assessment, the purpose of that is for adjustment of instruction. We may give the different classification of questions according to its level, but the purpose of giving those questions is still mainly focusing on the adjustment of instruction, knowing the kids or knowing the learners who can answer already the different levels of questions, so that on the next reading activity or on the next activity that we're going to make, the teacher will be aware now on what level of understanding the learners possess. So for us, it is more of the formative assessment, the things that we did for the reading lesson.
What is the what is the consensus? No? Okay. Okay, let's ask. If you believe that at least for the students in the lesson that you have prepared so far, pre, during, and post reading, that is what consists your lesson so far, that there is no summative assessment yet. Okay? Please, now if that is what you believe, no summative assessment yet, do not say anything. Wow, pwede palang tumahimik. Oh, at nakikinig pa pala kayo. Okay. Grabe, di ba? Ongoing assessment of listening ability. Okay. Kung naniniwala naman po kayo na even as participants who are like students in this whole 11-day training, that so far, even if you were asked to do pre-reading activities, post-reading, during reading activities and post-reading activities, that just like the students you planned for, there is still no summative assessment as we speak. Keep quiet if that is also what you believe. If you believe now that both for the students you planned for and for yourselves as participants in this training, that everything from pre, during, and post-reading activities so far, it's all formative, stand up. Ayan. Oo. Upo na po yung mga tumayo. Upo na po yung mga tumayo. Yung mga hindi po tumayo kanina, sila naman po yung pinapakiusapan na tumayo. Ayan. Meron po tayong tawag dyan. Tingnan nyo po. Magkarehiyon man, pwede pa rin ang laglagan. De, joke lang po. Magkarehiyon man, magkagrupo man, may kanya-kanya pa ring kaisipan, bawat nilalang. Okay. And so, okay. For purposes of classroom-based assessment, okay, we did say 2 days ago that assessment in itself is an ongoing process of gathering information. That if it is to be meaningful, it would have to occur in authentic contexts, and it should be able to achieve a purpose and provide clear and useful information. That's included in your handout and in the PowerPoint presentation last Tuesday. And also the 2 major purposes. That is to collect information that will inform class instruction and to monitor students' progress towards achieving learning outcomes and standards of student performance. I would like to ask you now to check your specific copies of the schedule and see what is in store for you on day 10. Day 10, October 21. What do you think that is for? That's your summative within the context of this course. Everything else in relation to the whole training is formative in nature. And if you look at day 11, you also have training simulation. That is also a form of summative assessment within the context of this whole training program. So in the context of what you did yesterday, in terms of coming up with activities before reading and during reading, even the students at that point are only going through formative assessment because instruction is not over. You did say, and I would like to affirm what was said earlier, that summative assessment is done after instruction is finished. It just so happens that instruction can be finished in one day within the context of a single lesson, full lesson in a day. So at the end of that day, within the context only of the instruction in that lesson, you could have both formative and summative. But within the context of a whole unit of instruction, every day is summative relative to the whole unit. Okay? So I think it would be a little confusing if we think of it out of context. Because you can't just readily say, this is just formative. Okay? Formative in relation to what? And formative in what particular context? Because, for example, you as a teacher, you taught one full lesson in one day. And you were able to give some kind of assessment, whether it's a quiz, a test, or some other form of data gathering to find out if the students achieved the objective or objectives for the day or not. Within the context of that, you have a summative assessment. However, if that lesson for Monday is part only of a whole unit for the whole month, that summative for that day is only formative for the whole unit. Okay? So it depends what your unit of instruction is and what particular context a lesson finds itself in. So for both your students, for whom you planned your pre, during, and post, And for you as participants, you've just gone through formative assessment, tasks, and activities so far. So maybe we will be... Nagka-clap si ma'am, parang nanalo ng loto. Is it clear at this point? So you can say, basta it's at the end of the week. Or basta pang quarter, pag may grade na. Kailangan po, nakikita natin yung mas malaking larawan, ika nga, o yung kabuuan ng larawan. Okay? Kasi pwedeng buo ang larawan mo sa isang araw, pero yung larawan na yon ay bahagi lang pala ng mas malaking larawan. Wala pong masama na tinitignan natin ang maliliit na larawan sa pang-araw-araw. Ang masama lang po siguro ay kung ayaw nating tignan ang katotohanan na may mas malaking larawan palagi. So pagbabalanse lang po yan. At sa balancing yon, mas mahirap na gumawa ng summative kumpara sa formative. Because much of classroom-based assessment is formative. Because it is the one that informs instruction. But summative will always have its important role. Whether at the end of a daily lesson, at the end of a chapter or unit, or at the end of the quarter, or even at the end of the year. Because then you would be able to see too where your instruction in general did not quite make it, where it was not quite effective, and how much or how little the kids in general have progressed. And so I will be requesting our facilitators to distribute a truncated lesson plan of Teacher Yvette. And I will give you time to go over it. It's long. It doesn't have the group activities after, but it has a short discussion. So it's a full lesson plan with before reading, during reading, and simple post-reading. And there are certain notes inserted, and there are certain